Alright, so I've gotten a lot of requests over the last few days about whether there's any changes to my Maelstrom Arena gear setups. I have already covered Magicka Dragonite. You can check that video out on my channel. Today I will be covering the Magicka Necromancer. I'm going to be showing you two different gear setups. One being mainly for people who can complete Maelstrom Arena, but want a more boss damage bursting and just a more all around high damage build to be able to get a higher score. Not necessarily a 600k score or plus that. I don't do that. I'm not worried about that. This content is too old. It's starting to become less relevant than what's out now. Not taking away from people who push the 600k plus scores. That I think that's fantastic. But for the sake of this video, don't expect a high 600k score. Not saying it's not possible to break 600k, but I have not physically hit 600k yet. So getting into it, first build, we're running 5 Mother Sorrows, Infernal Staff infused with a Flame Glyph. You can run Precise. It works very similar. Maelstrom Perfected Infernal Staff infused with the weapon spell damage glyph. You can do Shock. You can do Daedric. You can do the whole enchant swaps for the rounds and stuff like that. I don't do that. I don't swap CP for specific gear or content. I run the same stuff for majority of the content that I do. Balorgs, great monster set. This is a huge boost to damage, especially on boss waves. You can run other monster setups. You can run Grothdar, Iceheart, Kalnars, pretty much any Magicka damage sets, monster sets. They all work good. I wouldn't recommend Domihas though because you have to be in the ring. So 5-piece False Gods. It's pretty much a necessity for all solo mag content. You don't necessarily need it. If you can sustain without it, that's great. If you have trouble sustaining, run this. It can be perfected, it cannot, but make sure you have that. It helps. It makes it a million times easier if you don't have to worry about sustain. 3-piece Mother Sorrows infused jewelry, all spell damage glyphs. You can run Arcane, you can run Bloodthirsty. They all work great. For this setup, skills, we're running Mystic Siphon for AoE damage and some Magicka Restore, and also slotted passive as your damage increases 3%. Blast Bones, I don't find myself using this too much during the rounds, but for boss rounds you definitely want to make sure this is up. Degeneration for damage and dot. You can swap this out for Inner Light if you don't want to run that. Mystic Orb. It's a great AoE, does a lot of damage. Spammable is Force Siphon. You can use Ricochet Skull. You can use the Citric Order ability. I don't have it, but it's this one right here. You can run that. For ult, you can run Meteor. I don't have Meteor yet, but Colossus works great. Still does pretty good damage. Back bar, Barb Trapped. You can run Channel Acceleration. I would actually recommend Channel Acceleration because it allows you to activate it one time. You go through the full round. You ain't got to worry about placing a trap. Traps work too, but for personal preference, I'd rather use Channel Acceleration. Spirit Guardian. This thing is the only heal on our bar. Make sure to have this up the entire time. It does save your life at times when you need it. Same thing with this one, Skeletal Archer. Make sure to keep this one up as much as you possibly can. Does great damage. Unstable Wall of Fire and Unnerving Boneyard with Destruction ult. That's the first gear setup and skills. For the second setup, we will be slotting Kalinars. Oh, I didn't take it. Oh, yes, I did. Right here. Mother Sorrow's shoulder, and we're going to take out one ring and put on the Pale Order ring. And then we're going to take off Mystic Orb, and we're going to swap Siphon here. And we're going to put on Braided Tether. This setup, I'll go back to the gear. For this particular ring, this is broken. Any solo content in the game, put this ring on. Every damage that you do heals you for 2750, and it is absolutely broken. Make sure if you don't own the DLC, make sure you go pick this DLC up so you can pick up this ring, because it will make, like I said, everything solo content a million times easier. But we're keeping everything the same other than swapping out one piece, the one shoulder and the one ring. Threw Kalinars on there because, for one, it's just the spell damage. You can run Balorgs that offers the same thing. You can run a max resource one, and you can even run a crit. Or not crit. Yeah, crit, not penetration, crit. We already get enough penetration with the Necro class, so... But back to the skills. This thing is wicked. It's so strong. Not only does it buff your healing done by 3%, but this thing will apply a huge heal to you. Stacking that with Spirit Guardian, you're pretty much invincible. You don't even really have to worry about heals at all. Panic healing or anything. As long as you have the Braided Tether up and your Guardian and your Pale Order, you are indestructible. Unless something fluke happens and none of that stuff is up and your ring can't keep up with healing, especially on the ice rink. I know everybody struggles with that one, the archers and the mages, and this should make it so much easier. But looking at the stat sheet, 59% crit. Here, let me buff up real quick. Just shy of 3,000 damage without proccing the weapon spell damage glyph. About 3,400 spell damage is where we're sitting at. Max damage proc. 59% crit, 34k max magic, 18,000 health. Don't worry about the recovery rate on that. When you have those things up, it jumps up to 1271. Having your Mystic Siphon up, getting that little bit of magic restore back, plus being able to burst down all the ads with False Gods, you won't have any sustain issues. So don't worry too much about sustain. Like I said before, I don't do the whole swapping thing, so I just keep the Shadow on there. You can run the Lover. Lover might offer you a little bit more burst, but with the setup with us running a high crit, I'd rather keep Shadow on. Getting into the CP, running 56 Elfborn and Elemental Expert, 27 Staff Expert, Master at Arms 56, and 72 Thaumaturge and 3 Piercing for no reason. 81 Ironclad, 26 Spell Shield, 56 Hardy and Elemental Defender with 51 and Thick Skinned, 44 Warlord, 2 Sprinter, 37 Tenacity, 75 Arcanist, 51 in Shadow Ward, and 61 in Tumbling. I use that same CP setup for both of the gear setups that I showed you. For food, we're running bi-stat food. You can run this one or this one. You can even use the Artaeum fish, the fish food if you have it. You can even run Witch Mother's Potent Brew. You'll have to adjust your enchants, maybe run a health glyph on something. We're using spell pots. My race is in High Elf. You can run Breton. You can run Dark Elf. They all work. But that just about covers it up. Make sure if this video helps you out in any way, if you get your first completion of Veteran Maelstrom Arena or you get your Flawless Conqueror, tag me in it on Twitter or Instagram and give you a shout out for it. Make sure to check the description of this video, find out all my social links, and make sure to follow all of them to stay up with the news, the latest news of the channel. Discord should be coming pretty soon. But for the meantime, the best thing for news and updates is Instagram or Twitter. The next video to expect will probably be a vMA build update for the Mag Sorcerer. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on to know when that video gets posted. And we'll see you guys later.